With Langdon gone and Robbie starting to teeter on a breaking point, the Pitt episode 11 jumps right back into the action, as the senior attending is down a team member. He relays this to others in the hospital, not specifying why Langdon had to leave, only telling a select few about what transpired. For him, launching back into cases right away is the most important part of his shift, since he only has 2 hours left before he's supposed to go home. The same applies to almost everyone else, with this supposedly being Dana's final hour before she departs. However, episode 11 amps up the drama while playing into the Pitt's medical realism, offering the most nail-biting cases of the show. But, at the same time, its continual emphasis on when the shift ends telegraphs approaching answers as to how it's going to extend into 15 hours total. By the end of the episode, the answers are provided, offering an emotional gut punch that promises chaos and tragedy in the final 4 episodes. Prior to that moment, however, there's plenty the show does well to illustrate when hospitals have to deal with multiple life-threatening emergencies at the same time. Robbie works on 2 deadly cases that take up most of episode 11. Individual stories fall to the wayside as emergencies ramp up. The focus on individual stories isn't as strong in episode 11. McKay does confront Chad's girlfriend, Chloe, about who gets to take Harrison while he's injured. It ends with the resident telling her off in a satisfying scene illustrating how much she loves her son. In the meantime, Langdon is constantly calling the hospital and Robbie, in hopes of explaining himself despite their heated confrontation. This spills over to Santos, too, who tells Garcia not to inform anyone about what happened, getting her labeled as trouble by the resident surgeon. Even with individual stories sidelined, the characters in the Pit still had plenty to do. 2 deadly cases were unfolding at the same time, one being a woman who experienced esophageal hemorrhaging while in recovery. The team is forced to drain a disquieting amount of blood from her throat as they try to use a medical balloon to stop the bleeding. It's not clear if they'll be able to save her at first, with worried looks surrounding her blood drainage making it seem like a worst-case scenario. However, after a slight struggle, they're able to quell the bleeding. The bigger of the 2 cases, however, is a pregnancy that has multiple complications. A woman arrives already starting to give birth, alongside a gay couple for whom she's acting as a surrogate for. The baby gets stuck coming out, with Robbie forced to intervene by reaching into the woman to relocate the baby's shoulder. The close-up birth scene is incredibly detailed, with impressively realistic effects that increase the tension. It pushes the boundaries of television, but does so in order to emphasize the rare complications that can arrive with pregnancy. But, in keeping with the Pitt's emergency room realities, the woman ends up gushing blood in a rare hemorrhage after her placenta comes out. Because of just how much blood she loses, the team performs an emergency surgery on her. While it seems like she's about to die, especially when Robbie asks her friend to start reciting their favorite memories together, he's ultimately able to save her life. They keep her overnight for observation, but, with the couple holding the baby in their arms, it seems like everything is going to be okay. Robbie and Dr. Collins's heartfelt conversation was the episode's highlight. The pair's history shines thanks to stellar performances. Dr. Roby worried about Dr. Heather Collins, Tracy I feature, who looks restless in the Pitt Season 1 EP8. Image via Max. After the chaos has died down, Dr. Collins emotionally leaves the room, prompting Robbie to follow her. Having learned about her miscarriage in the midst of the episode's chaos, he sits with her in the back of an ambulance. After an emotional conversation, he decides to send her home early, given just how difficult the day has been. She says she's fine, but he insists, saying, "It's not like we'll ever get ahead of it." It's a poignant reminder that their job of saving lives is a constant cycle that never ends, but that they can step away when necessary. However, the moment comes with another revelation. When dating Robbie, Collins got pregnant and aborted the baby. She doesn't directly tell him, though it's easy to interpret through her tears as she talks about feeling selfish for what she did. Robbie not only tells her she wasn't being selfish, but, in a roundabout way, forgives her. This brings the cliffhanger ending of the Pitt episode 7 full circle, not only because the senior resident is leaving, but also because her miscarriage storyline gets satisfying closure. Episode 11's final moments promise to change the show forever. Why Robbie's shift gets extended is revealed. Robbie staring ahead next to Dana looking over her shoulder in the Pitt episode 9 custom image by Nick Bithrow. As the episode ends, Robbie finds himself having to speak to a patient who was a potential opiate addict, following Dr. Mohan going behind his back once more to treat him. During the conversation, it's clear what he's saying is partially a projection of his feelings after Langdon's departure, emphasizing how what he had to do is still eating away at him. It doesn't help that Langdon keeps trying to get in touch with him over the phone, a constant reminder of what happened while hinting that their conflict is far from done. The episode's final moments offer some much-appreciated development for Dana, who's grown disillusioned after the Pitt episode 9 ended with Doug punching her in the face. Outside on a smoke break, she can't hide her upset from Robbie, telling him she's thinking of quitting after how miserable the day has been. He tries talking her out of it, even offering to send her home early too. But it's clear nothing he says is going to fully change her mind, especially when she feels more detached than ever from her job at the hospital. To top it off, their phones buzz with an alert. There's a shooting happening at Pittfest, where Robbie's son Jake and his girlfriend are. While it's unclear if this is David's building story wrapping back around, it's obvious the shooting will be the core focus of the final 4 episodes. Since the Pitt has 4 episodes left, the length of time remaining signals devastating results from the festival, with Robbie potentially suffering a direct loss. While episode 11 already raised the stakes, its ending signals they're about to get even more dangerous.